Welcome to the show we like to call For the Love of Real Estate, where we dive into what it means to buy or sell a home in today's world. Join host Jill Elliott, Dallas broker associate and former radio personality, as she marries her two loves, radio and real estate. She's going to have you asking yourself, for the love of real estate, should I tackle my fears and buy, rent, sell, or remodel?
Hello and welcome. Thanks for showing some love and being here today for the podcast I lovingly call For the Love of Real Estate. And it's quite fitting as this is being recorded right before Valentine's Day. And who better to bring back on the show than the coolest and the most loved realtor in the Kansas City area, Mike Connors with the Connors team. Hi, Mike.
Quite an intro. Thank you.
I know.
I appreciate it.
I feel like we should be hearing the Welcome Back Cotter song. Don't you? Do you know what I'm talking about? You're old as me.
do.
Come on.
Of course I do.
Yeah, maybe Russ will throw that in and we won't get in trouble. And so after begging you to be on this show again, I had to call and beg you guys. But here you are because so much has changed in the last few months. And you and I had kind of been talking about that. And it's not like as real estate agents, we're going, yeah, this is a great market, because it's the emotional thing that we were starting to kind of talk about last time. Do you remember?
I do. Yeah, I do. It's a tough market, and I think you hear more agents say, "I hate this market," as opposed to "I love this market." You know, everybody talks about how hot the market is. Well, that's kind of a relative term that I guess we'll probably talk about today, right?
Well, yeah, I feel like that we have to, because what I want this podcast to be about is trying to make people's experience a little bit better. And I know that especially with buyers right now, when I start to talk to them and I say, well, here are some of the things that you could do. And they look at me like, you're kidding, right? You want me, how much money? Wait, what? I have to do what? I don't get to ask for this. I'm supposed to ask for that. And it becomes something sort of taking a life of its own. Do you feel that way?
I do. And, you know, there are so many angles that you could address the topic or talk about this. And so many things that come up when you're working with your buyers or your sellers, or things that you have to address or questions, because the market is just, it's so skewed one direction right now. And it brings up so many questions, and there's so many tactics and so many strategies. And to me, the thing that has helped me initially, whether I'm talking to a seller or a buyer, is they always want to know, well, why did it get like this? You know, why is the market the way it is? Why this is crazy? And so we've got a kind of a talk track that we talk to them about. And I think in the big picture, and we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, if you can give your clients an understanding of what's going on, just how we talked about before, I wrote the book so people would not be so thrown off balance by surprises. I think if people have an understanding, people being your clients, of why things are like this, then it makes it a little easier down the road, because right now there's nothing easy about being a buyer.
No, and there's really nothing easy about being a seller, because I think that we don't have that much inventory, right?
You're right. You're correct. And those sellers also have to go out and find something to purchase too.
Exactly. So if they're not leaving town, then they are sort of, they don't know what to do, because then they have to get somewhere. And most of the time, people cannot do two mortgages. It's not that simple for them to do two mortgages. And yet they have to be out, but then they're fighting what the buyers are fighting. And so that's what makes it difficult. So that's what makes sellers, I think, hold on to their properties right now, because where are they going to go? That's better. Or here's the thing. If let's just say they want to upgrade, right? So we're seeing this, whereas before, like, let's say 12, 13, 14, in 16, 15, all those years, we were seeing homes, maybe 300 and below with the multiple offers and the craziness, right? But now we see them in the millions. We see them in the 800,000s. We see them in if the house is taken care of, and in Texas has a pool, forget about it, right? I'm serious.
Throw back to the first episode we did together, right?
Exactly. Because people are just flocking to this area and in your area too, because you had sent me that email, that text message, and we'll talk about that. But that's what all of a sudden made me go, oh my gosh. Because it is in the 500s and every single price point, if the house is kept up and looks like the pictures basically, or your Chip and Joanna special, as I say.
Yeah. Yep. I think the scariest part for me is how we got here to this point, because and this is when somebody says to me, why is it like this? When's it going to stop? And this, in my estimation, and this is kind of what I explain to people, this has really gone on since the crash of '08. This is kind of built like this. And the best way to describe this market is the seller's market is so tilted in that direction that actually now it's feeding on itself, meaning when the market kind of tanked, when I say kind of tanked, when it fully tanked in 2008.
Oh yeah, I was there.
There were millions of foreclosures. And what people don't realize is all those foreclosures are washed out of the system right now. But for every one of those foreclosures, I don't know what the number is, but let's just say it's 5. There were 5 people for each one that didn't foreclose, but they were probably up to their neck in debt. And they said, let's just park for 10 years. And they refinanced. And those would have been people that would have been selling their home over the next 10 years or so. So that was kind of the first step down in inventory in the market. So then things started to improve a little bit. And a lot of those people that would have been selling didn't sell their home. So then it turns into a seller's market. So now it kind of is people that would be selling now ordinarily are afraid to, because there is nothing for them to buy. And so they're afraid to be homeless. So it's kind of feeding on itself. And then you bring in the last piece, COVID, and you introduce a pandemic when things seemed to be last spring kind of leveling out a little bit. Inventory was rising just a little bit, and the pandemic hits. And again, it's feeding on itself. So all these variables, Jill, to be honest, I don't know how you get out of it until people just say, enough's enough. I'm not paying 15% over market value, and prices level out. I don't know how you get out of it. There's so many factors. The market is like feeding on itself right now. For the sellers.
Here's another reason I think it's worse too, is because let's go back to 12 and 13 and stuff and 11 when I sort of got into it. Well, builders, because of that '08 thing, it sort of stopped building. Remember that? And so that's why the need for pre-owned homes was so cool. I mean, it was just like, okay, it was just this explosion. But what happened was then the builders out there, they started building again, and it was cool. It was great. It was better. Okay. So then we had that ease off of the pre-owned homes. So people would build. But here in Dallas, you can't even find a builder that will build right now. I mean, they might do it in 6 or 8 months, 12 months. They're estimating something like 7 to 12 months. And they don't have any spec homes, but they leave them on the internet. And then guess what happens? Oh my gosh, this home is here. Let's go see it. And literally in Dallas, some builder representatives have to turn their lights off because they're sitting there with a stack of checks on a waiting list to get a lot, to get a house, to see if somebody backs out. And it's crazy. So now in Dallas, not only we don't have the builders to go to right now, unless people want to wait a year. Okay, we can do that all day. All right. But and then on top of that, we have the multiple offers on higher priced homes. So, but let me ask you something, Mike, about that. Don't you sometimes want to go, hey, dude, you got an extra $50,000? Can you go find like a $300,000 house and leave the $250,000 people alone? I mean, can we reevaluate what you can do with your budget? Because it just kind of seems like that to me is a little bit outrageous. Because what do you think might happen? All of a sudden, Mike, hey, Mike, you know that home you sold me for 2 years ago? That's I paid $50,000 out of my pocket for. I need to sell it. Here's what I want for it. Oh my gosh!
Yep.
What about that? Did anybody think 5 years? Yeah, I have dreams about that.
Yep, and it's another trapdoor that in a market that's so tilted towards the seller that knowledge is king, and the more information you can provide your clients, the easier it makes the process. So to go back to how we got to where we are, all the things you said, all the things I said, if we educate our clients up front, here's why we are where we are. So they have that understanding, and it gives them some power. So relative to what you just said, I think I say this every time. I tell them about the market. I tell them what to expect. Here's probably what we're going to have to do when we find something. And you have to tell them that I'm not going to tell you can't offer on a home. However, I'm going to tell you what market value is. And if you're willing to pay over market value to purchase a home, I just want it on the record that I told you this is market value and where the offers are coming in. And here's what people oftentimes will say, well, we plan on being here for 15 years. Or we plan on being here for 12 years, or this is our forever home. And that's fine. And many times that works out. Best laid plans, God's got a funny sense of humor, and 3 years down the road, he transfers you to another state because of your job. And now you're going to get 90 cents on the dollar or 80 cents on the dollar. So you just have to make them aware of those situations. It's horrible and it's tough, but I think the way that you position yourself as an agent or as an advisor to them is you have to make them aware of every situation that can come up. And I think telling them, yeah, you're paying over market value. Just be aware that if you need to sell for whatever reason in 2 or 3 years, here's what could happen. And if you put that decision in their lap, you're doing your job correctly. So
right, exactly. But how do you tell a seller, like we were talking about just a second ago, that people have to stop paying these, crazy over list prices, but yet the seller, if they could make that much money, why not? Right?
If I have a seller that can get the most out of it, I'm not going to stop him.
Exactly.
That's something that the market in general has to correct itself.
But on the buy side, it's hard to help your clients know that. I've got somebody moving, a couple moving from California, and they are paying over. And guess what? It appraised, and which we're going to talk about in just a second. It appraised, Mike. And actually, let's just say it appraised for what they asked. They would have had to bring in that money. But the other thing that's really big right now in Dallas, and you almost can't get a home without it, is to check number one on what we call that appraisal addendum, right? Which means you're going to take this house no matter what it appraises for. You've got a $400,000. If that you bid, maybe it was $380, and it comes in at $350. Hey, guess what? You owe that gap too.
Grand. Yeah.
Exactly. You owe the gap.
And I would throw out an important piece for any real estate agents that are listening. If you do that, if you get an appraisal value waiver, do not accept it until you've got approval from the lender. Because the agent says that, just because the buyer says, yeah, we're willing to do that, that could entirely change their debt to income ratio. And I've seen that happen too. And so regardless of what side you're on, make sure you call the lender.
Absolutely. And we did on this one, because I was like, holy bizzoli. And this was kind of right, because we're getting ready to close on it, when it all started happening. And about that time is when I got that text from you. And tell me about that situation where, how many showings did you have, like in one day? Something like that, or weekend or whatever. It was crazy.
Yeah, this was just like a week ago. We had a listing come up, and it was between 20 and 30 offers. I think Natalie, my director of operations, puts together a spreadsheet, and the thing just kept getting longer and longer and longer. And at some point you get offers, and it's one of the under 300 homes, which all over the country, those go in a heartbeat. And this wasn't an anomaly or anything. Any house like this happens to, and it was in good condition. But we had some offers that were just ridiculous. And we did not take by far the highest offer.
It's not always what it's about.
You were just talking about. They wouldn't give us an appraisal value waiver. And I just tell them, thanks for the offer. This is great. Can I have an appraisal waiver? And, well, no, it'll appraise. No, it won't. It's not worth the paper you sent the offer on. So we
Oh,
accepted something, that was way over what we were asking for, but it was crazy. It went on Friday, and we had, including the open house, about 100 people through, in 2 days, with 20 or 30 offers, somewhere in there. But that's the way it is for everybody right now. It's nuts.
it really
It's
is.
nuts.
It's crazy. So let's go over a few ways you can win. Let's use some of these. Now, what I tell people when I send them the little sheet is I just say things like, doesn't mean I'm telling you to do everything on this list by any stretch, but these are some ideas. So obviously the first one is to go over the asking price. But of course, as we just discussed, what that could actually mean and how it could be a heartbreaker. Because let me tell you something, when you do that, you've had an inspection, you've paid your out-of-pocket appraisal fee as a buyer. There's lots of little things, and you do have to pay to play, folks. You can't go over to somebody's house with your inspector and say, hey, we just want to mess around. No, you got to pay to play. I mean, this is serious business, but we just talked about that. But the other, I think that's a pretty good one because it doesn't really go toward the list price, but is to offer to pay the title cost, because normally in Texas, the title cost is paid by the seller in normal cases. And that's a good way to do it. So depending on the price point, that could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So the seller is getting that, but they're not having to worry about it because the buyer is bringing that out of pocket.
Yep,
do you agree with
the
that
house
one?
as is another one. I mean, you're talking about just things you can do at all
Mike,
times.
ouch. No. That's crazy, but people are doing it. Yeah.
I don't know exactly what your residential real estate contract, what it looks like in Dallas, but ours has 3 boxes on the in its present condition addendum. And box 3 is waive inspection and right to cancel. And I'd never seen that. And we got one of those recently. We always get we'll take it as is and not ask for anything to be done, but we still reserve the right to cancel when we find mold, or when we find a foundation falling in. Yeah, we got we got one that was we reject the right to cancel, and okay, winner. I mean,
well, yeah,
fun.
I mean, but it's crazy because some people are putting down $1,000 option fees, which you have a contract. It's agreed upon. If for people that don't know that option, but you do have, let's say it could be a 1 to 10 day option. Let's say, okay. But a lot of people are saying we won't even do the option, which is basically what you were saying. We could still do an inspection, but it's for our purpose only. We're not going to go back to the seller. But then others, they might do a 3 or 4 day option, and they're putting down $1,000. So they're willing to lose $1,000 right off the bat if they don't like what the house is. Instead of a normal thing, an average $300,000 house would be about $300, $300, right? So that's a kind of a big difference. You do that 2 or 3 times, it gets expensive.
I agree. I think a big thing too, and I think I'd be negligent if I wouldn't mention this, that we talk about the things you can do when you make the offer. And you and I seem to always talk or go off on a tangent on the human side of it too. I think you can do some things as an agent to tee yourself up when it comes time to make an offer and put yourself in a better position. And that would be things like always leaving feedback when you're doing showings elsewhere. I think it's would be nurturing a trusting relationship with other agents all the time. Always be the agent that people want to work with. Always be professional. One way you can do that is every time you talk to an agent or somebody calls you, put their name in your phone right away. So when they call you next time, or you have to call them, you say, "Oh, hey, Jill, how's it going?" All of a sudden, you've got a connection there.
And you know what I've done though? Haven't you done this though? It's like, you're talking to the agent about a house, and you go, all of a sudden you realize you've talked to them before. And then they kind of realize it too. And you're like, oh, yeah, I remember you. Or then you don't. Yeah. Sometimes I don't remember them at all. And I know they don't remember me. But it is kind of funny. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, so 5 years later.
I think that is a big thing too. Yeah. You have to set yourself up as an agent that other agents know will get it to the end and will be good to work with and is a problem solver. And we like to say in real estate, time never solves problems. you've got to solve the problems yourself.
Right.
And if you are viewed as that agent, that goes a long ways. I mean, we've gotten many offers accepted where we weren't the highest offer because the other agent knew that we would get it to the end and we were good to work with and we were professional. And
well, or the people that you bring, this is important. The people that you bring, if they trust you enough, then they are going to not, how do I say it? They are going to give you the information you need so you know it will close. So you know that everybody's on the same page and things like that, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly
what
right.
I think is important, that you know things that might come up, things that might be a deterrent, but you know how to fix it. You have the information. So that's why full disclosure and communication between the buyer agent and the buyer and the seller agent as the seller. And right now, folks, this is the best time not to be calling the listing agent if you want to buy a house. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is the best time to be represented.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think too, as we think about this, you say things and it makes me think of something. We have our team meetings on Monday, and we were talking about this very topic, and we were talking about multiple offers when you're on the buy side, and we were throwing out key phrases or things to put you in a good position. And the best one we came up with, and we're going to use it a lot, and I think it's something that an agent can always say, I think, to make the listing agent feel like, okay, this person really has my best interest or my seller's best interest at heart. And that is, and you have to use the verbiage precisely. It's what can we do as the buyers to eliminate the most risk for your seller? And
that's good.
The seller wants zero risk. And if you can position yourself in the exact way the seller wants, then I think that increases your chances as well. And, we talk about this and all these things you can do. And
well, the best laid plans, right?
Many times it doesn't do any good. I mean, I've got several buyers right now that, we've offered 3 or 4 times and we're still going. So,
but if you look at what happened on the last time and the last time, and then you use that information, that's what I try to do. Use that information. And, don't be afraid not to run out to the first day of a house on the market. I mean, that's great to go look at those, but there are houses, that have been just sitting there rotten for 8 days for whatever reason. Look at those
days,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's like right now,
days.
Right? What is wrong with it? Oh my gosh, it's been on the market 10 days. What is it? It's like,
got to be something wrong with it. Yep.
But there's not. I was kind of the queen of that in 2016. I remember for a lot of clients, and that was a crazy time too. In price points, $250 to $350, which was very average. And, I would find these houses and I'm like, what's wrong with them? And the agent's like, look, nothing. Come look at it, make an offer, because they get frustrated with people walking away for something that could be dealt with or fixed. And then no one even asked. And then you go, hey, will you fix that? And they go, well, yeah, but nobody ever asked. Easy breezy.
Yep. Agreed.
And about, and to jump back into, some things that you could do is you could offer to pay for a survey if it's needed, which is about $400 around here, or a home warranty, your own home warranty. Usually that's a seller expense, but that is right around, $1,000. So again, that's something that you could offer that doesn't go on that top line.
Yeah, people don't even ask for warranties in Kansas City anymore. That's just like a thing of the past. No,
are you serious?
Just because of the market. Everything is as is. Everything is, other things that you have to position yourself. You have to create relationships. And I think, like I said before, the most important thing you can do is educate your buyer that this is going to be tough. We're going to do the best we can. And when we find something and you really want it, be prepared to step up, and we can do it. We can do many things to help position us well. I'm going to let you know what the market value is. If you want to go over that, I would never stop you, and just go in with your eyes open and know that this could take a while.
And I think you and I have been in it long enough to where we can kind of feel that too, with them when they feel it. Like there's not a doubt in my mind for this couple that I'm working with that are getting ready to move here and went over and did all that jazz, the title and everything. But I think it's the best thing for them. I really do. And the house appraised, so I can breathe.
You can sleep again. Yeah.
I know. But I believe it. And when you kind of have that going, then it's going to be okay. If they wanted to offer, 80 grand over, I would have been no, because I don't think in the end that would have helped anybody. We would have had to find something else. So I think to be crazy. So we kind of got beat out. I got beat out with another client on that. All of a sudden we put in the offer. All of a sudden there's more. There's more.
Yep.
And of course the big one, $1,000 or whatever it was option and 10,000 earnest money on a 4-something house, and of course they had all the money in the world to bring to the table, and you know what, I was proud of my clients for saying, we're not doing that, and we found them another house. So, But again, I was proud, a little bit proud of them for that. I was kind of mad they didn't sign that the night before. Like they should have, but hey, but they knew they had some showings, and they kind of, I get it. And what about being flexible on a closing date, though? That's always good too.
It's a big thing. That's huge, and I think that's something that almost every agent is smart enough to ask for these days. Getting creative. I think looking in. I don't know if you guys have a PreMLS down there where you can see what's coming.
Oh, the coming soon. Yeah, but it can only be on like one day. Or it has to be ready to go. It's kind of weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I
That's
like
a little
it.
different for us. We've got in-house listings, office exclusive listings. So I think if you're tied into the market a little bit, sometimes you can do some searching that way for your buyer. And maybe have not as much competition. The thing is, though, when you get to a place early, or if it's off market, you have to be prepared to pay top dollar, because you're eliminating that seller's chance to get multiple offers.
What they're worried about here, though, is exactly not that, but it just seems so like, is it really fair to the seller? Unless they just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
But is it fair to the seller not to see?
3 days. Yeah.
But if they don't really want to show it or things like that, I'm on the fence about that one, though. I don't know about you. I'm just on the fence on it, because it's there. I think there's good and bad. And of course now, the letter, people write letters, but no pictures. You cannot send pictures. Remember, for a while, everybody was sending pictures and things like that. And now they say no more of that.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had that house that you asked me about a week or two ago. I had an investor that was a cash buyer, and he didn't, he had a formula and he couldn't get up high enough. But at one point in the process, he was looking really good. And I said, everybody else is writing letters, buddy. And he said, "Well, I'm buying it for a rental. I'll send.
Yeah, that ought to do it.
I'll send them a video of the Notebook. How's that?" That's pretty good.
Good one,
That's
Mike.
pretty good. But he didn't get it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think sometimes sellers do want somebody in there that might love it or care for the house. I'm sappy about all that stuff and homes and everything. So I could definitely see where somebody might want somebody in it. It doesn't have to be a certain amount, a certain, family type. It could just be anything, but just somebody that is going to love and care for the house, whether they're single, married, single mom, single dad, whatever. They don't care. They just want somebody to come in and take care of the house. And I do have to say, having a strong lender in your back pocket too helps.
Yep. And a lender letter too, to state how strong the buyer is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if they don't want to write it down, folks.
Hey, and I will say this too, as you talk about writing a letter, that's a daunting ask or request of many buyers, that if you say that to them, oh gosh, you don't want to write a letter. So I think as agents, it's important that we have 3 or 4 templates that they can just look at and make their own. And we do that all the time. You need to write a letter. I don't want to write a letter. Really? Do I have to? I've got 3 or 4 templates. Just tweak it however you want to fit the house, and we'll go with that. So,
my recent buyers, they wrote the best letter. Oh my gosh, but it was also true. I mean, it was just so cool, and I can't wait for them to get here. It's going to be great. And they were ready to move back for family and things like that. And I hooked them up with a great lender, and he was instrumental in that too. So I'm really thankful that it all worked out the way that it did. We're not quite there, but we're almost there. We're past the appraisal process. So, hey, that is like the best feeling ever. And also understanding the inspection report. So many people walk away and they don't understand that while the inspection report can look a little bit crazy, it's not bad. But we don't have a crystal ball, and we can't say this or that. I mean, you have to think of a house like your kid. You have to take care of it. You have to water it. You have to feed it.
I think we agreed last time that in the inspection process, that's probably an entirely
that's a whole nother show, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, it is. Oh my gosh, Mike, that means you might have to come back.
We can do inspections. We can do whatever. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Talking real estate. Can do it all day.
Oh my gosh, me too. It's kind of like I look at things now. And I either relate it to real estate or football. And speaking of football,
I have nothing to say. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, I love those Chiefs. I really do. But,
that was a tough one.
Listen, Tom Brady, we know he's amazing. I mean, I love his backstory. Tom Brady. No, listen, this is important.
Who?
You know how much I love the Chiefs.
Okay,
I'm just going to go with this. But you know what? I heard a great story about him, an amazing story. And I thought I'd heard it all, but he actually worked for a construction company. And he cleaned up homes and sites and things like that, which meant he also cleaned up toilets. He scrubbed toilets. That guy that's winning and doesn't eat potatoes and tomatoes, and it's amazing. And he looks like he does. And he is a GOAT. I love that. But he also was the best toilet scrubber and the best person that showed up on time. Seriously, that's what the guy that they were interviewing, his old boss, that's what he said. He goes, he was an overachiever doing this job. And I thought, I've got so much respect for him, but yet I cannot let my man Patrick Mahomes go either, so he's going to be back. Yeah.
Don't you think people like that, though, regardless of what it is they're doing?
Yes, that was my point.
If Tom Brady ended up selling real estate, he would probably be the best.
Oh, I'm so glad he doesn't. Look, Tom, your next job as you age out of football, not that I think you ever will, but you know what's great about that is then we've got these young kids like the Patrick Mahomes and all the great guys on all these, the sports or whatever sport or whatever it is that we love, and they're coming back. They're going to be back. That's what's so cool. Don't you think? But I don't think Drew Brees will be back.
Jill, this is a tough topic. We're still hurting here. This is tough for me.
I know. Too soon?
It's a little too soon. Maybe next time.
I know. And I think the main thing is we kind of have to wrap this up, unfortunately. But the main thing really is don't get discouraged in this process, because the light is going to shine on you in some way, shape, or form. It may not be exactly what it is or what you had planned in your head. But it's what's in front of you, and it might not be a bad idea, that maybe there wasn't the craft room that you wanted, but you had this. Maybe it didn't have this kind of thing, but it had that. You have to look at the good of the house as much as, you want to point out the flaws. Don't you think?
I agree 100%. And I think it just to make it as easy or as painless as possible, that you have to explain exactly what's going to happen or what could potentially happen right up front. And
that's why you wrote that book. Why don't you give that book a plug?
If you happen to find a house and you get an offer accepted on the first try, then great. But just know that the process in this market could take a while. And we get out of this pandemic and things level off a little bit. Maybe we'll have a more balanced market in the next year or two. Who knows?
Well, let's hope so. But you could be back to talk about it, wouldn't you?
I'll be there. I would.
Okay, cool.
Of course.
I'm going to have you back again very soon, okay? We've got
Sounds
inspections
good.
to talk about.
I enjoyed it. That's right.
Me too.
That's right.
We've got so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope we made this. Maybe you heard something in here that helped you or may help you in the future. That's what this podcast is all about. So, and hey, by the way, are you going to do something nice for your wife for Valentine's Day?
We are, of course, we're having a big family thing on Sunday, but she and I are going out tomorrow.
Oh, that is so sweet. You know what I told my husband?
We're not big Valentine's people.
Yeah.
We're just not. I lucked out in that regard. She's not a big Valentine's Day person. I think it's
See,
who am I to argue? Right?
I knew I loved this person that I haven't even met because I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, baby, what are you going to get me for Valentine's Day? I said, please say nothing. Please say it.
Yeah.
Say it.
Yeah.
Say it loud. Say no.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, because he's so sweet. He likes to do gifts and stuff like that. But I'm like, Valentine's Day. Oh my God. I'm like the only one that doesn't like it.
Manufactured holiday. That's the word I've heard and coming from her, and that's fine with me. But yeah, we do enough stuff anyway. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I want to see it every day, baby. How about that?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I want to feel the love every day. That's why I named the show For the Love, right? For the love of real estate. I love everything.
That's right.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me, especially you, Mike, and showing some love for the love of real estate. If you'd like to take it to the next level, please subscribe. Could you do that for me? And check out my website too, JillElliottHomes.com.
Thank you for tuning into For the Love of Real Estate. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to fortheloveofrealestate.biz to join the conversation, access the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter.